Hello, what is up guys? Eman from Peso Smart PH here. Welcome sa panibagong episode. Shout out to all the podcast listeners as well. I appreciate you all. Today we're gonna discuss quantitative easing and quantitative tightening. So itong dalawang topic na to is quite new for me as well. So let's refer to two articles na nakapost dito sa Investopedia. I'm gonna link these sa comment section, hindi sa comment section ang sinasabi ko. Sa description nitong video na to. And if like podcast listener ka, punta ka lang sa YouTube channel ko. You can also find the link there. So yun, ano nga ba yung quantitative easing? So yung quantitative easing is a form of unconventional monetary policy in which a central bank purchases longer-term securities from the open market in order to increase the money supply and encourage lending and investment. Buying these securities adds new money to the economy, so basically, nagpiprint sila ng panibagong pera, and also serves to lower interest rates by bidding up fixed income securities. It also expands the central bank's balance sheet. So, lumalaki yung balance sheet ng federal or ng central bank. Kasi, bibili nga sila ng mga longer term na assets. Then, when shorter term interest rates are either at or approaching zero, the normal open market operations of a central bank, which target interest rates, are no longer effective. Instead, a central bank can target specified amounts of assets to purchase. Quantitative easing increases the money supply. Again, nagpiprint sila ng pera by purchasing assets with newly created bank reserves in order to provide banks with more liquidity. So, ito yung mga key takeaways. Quantitative easing is a form of monetary policy used by central banks as a method of quickly increasing the domestic money supply and spurring economic activity. So, ang good example nga nito is nung nag-start yung COVID-19 pandemic noong 2020. So, print ng pera para mas stimulate yung economy. Quantitative easing usually involves a country's central bank purchasing longer-term government bonds as well as other types of assets such as mortgage-backed securities. And ito nga, in response to the economic shutdown caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, on March 15, 2020, the US Federal Reserve announced a quantitative easing plan of over $700 billion. So that is a lot of money na na-inject sa economy. Then on June 10, 2020, after a brief tapering effort, the Fed extended its program, committing to buy at least $80 billion a month in treasuries. $80 billion a month. That is a lot of money again. And $40 billion in mortgage-backed securities until further notice. And ngayon nga lang babaguhin ulit to. So, dyan tayo papatak sa quantitative tightening. That is why hawkish nga yung Fed, and that is why risk off na ulit yung market kasi mag-unload ng assets itong Fed kapag nag-start na yung quantitative tightening, and I believe that will start on June 1st. Right. So ano pa bang mga pwede nating matutunan dito? So ito, special considerations. If central banks increase the money supply, it can create inflation, which is what is happening right now. Diba nung March, 8.5% yung inflation na binigay, or yun yung data na nirelease ng Fed. And then for April naman, 8.3%. So, sobrang konti lang nung nabawas. The worst possible scenario for a central bank is that its quantitative easing strategy may cause inflation without the intended economic growth. So, hindi nakakasabay yung pag-grow ng economy dun sa inflation. An economic situation where there is inflation but no economic growth is called stagflation. I think nasa borderline stagflation na tayo currently. Kasi, well, may mga nagsastrive na like industries, right? Kasi, yun nga, nasimulate yung economy because there are a lot of money being injected sa economy. But there are also like businesses dying because of the COVID pandemic. But yeah. Ito pa. Another potential negative consequence of quantitative easing is that it can devalue the domestic currency. While a devalued currency can help domestic manufacturers because exported goods are cheaper in the global market, and this may help stimulate growth, a falling currency value makes imports more expensive. This can increase the cost of production and consumer price levels. But in the case naman ng USD, it's not dropping in value. Actually, it's like on an all-time high right now. Commercial tayo ng konti. Ito yung DXY, US Dollar Currency Index. So, nasa 104.465 na siya. So, sa weekly tayo. So, nataasan na niya yung highs nung like 2016 and 2017. Yeah. So, borderline na. No? Kasi ito yung what they call this. Nung late 90s and early 2000, dito na pop yung, what they call this, yung dot-com bubble. And nag-hover na tayo din sa levels na yun. And yun nga, kapag kasi umaakyat itong value na to ng US dollar, usually yung markets, like for example, crypto market, stock market, hindi siya nagpo-perform ng ganong kaganda. Kapag ka medyo na-reverse yan, that is the time na medyo gumaganda yung run ng mga asset classes na yun. Alright? Pero hindi naman siya palaging ganun yung nangyari. Like sabihin natin, kailan ba? November, di ba? Ayan. Umakit pa rin yung US dollar, but di ba dito nag-set tayo ng new all-time highs din. Ito, di ba? Bumababa siya ng konti, then nag-set ng new all-time highs yung Bitcoin. Hindi siya palaging like super 100% accurate na mangyayari, but we can like expect no na kapag ka ang taas ng US dollar, like the markets is not really doing that well. And currently nga, di ba, nasa bear market na tayo sa cryptoverse. So, isang indication yun. Kapag ka ito medyo na-reverse na, that is the time na siguro magkakaroon ng magandang run, konting run siguro sa crypto. But that's still not guaranteed. And I think the worst is yet to come sa cryptocurrency market. Kasi nga, ayun, didiscuss natin yung quantitative tightening in a bit. So ito, is quantitative easing printing money? Critics have argued that quantitative easing is effectively a form of printing money, which is kind of true. These critics often point to examples in history where money printing has led to hyperinflation, such as in the case of Zimbabwe in the early 2000s or Germany in the 1920s. However, proponents of quantitative easing will point out that because it uses banks as intermediaries, rather than placing cash directly in the hands of individuals and businesses, quantitative easing carries less risk of producing runaway inflation. Right, thus quantitative easing causes inflation. There is a disagreement about whether quantitative easing causes inflation and to what extent it might do so. For example, the BOJ has repeatedly engaged in quantitative easing as a way of deliberately increasing inflation within their economy. However, these attempts have so far failed, with inflation remaining at extremely low levels since the late 1990s. And similarly, many critics warned that the United States' use of quantitative easing in the years following the 2008 financial crisis would risk unleashing dangerous inflation, which is what we are experiencing right now. But so far, this rise in inflation has yet to materialize. But this article was actually posted no October 15, 2021 pa. So, yeah. We are now experiencing yung mataas na inflation right now. So, dito na tayo sa quantitative tightening. So, Fed is poised to begin reducing its record $9 trillion balance sheet at the Federal Reserve's two-day policy meeting today and tomorrow. So, that was like 2 weeks ago. The central bank is widely expected to hike the target range of the federal funds rate by 0.5 percentage point. But central bankers will also release more plans about rolling off the Fed's $9 trillion balance sheet, known as quantitative tightening. For 2 years after the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Fed bought over $4 trillion in assets, mostly US Treasuries and mortgage-backed securities, to help stimulate the economy. The Fed finally stopped purchasing bonds in March as the central bank began to pivot towards slowing inflation. And then the Fed officials have generally agreed to selling $60 billion in treasury securities and $35 billion of mortgage-backed securities each month. So per month yan, according to recent Fed policy meeting minutes. That would be a much faster pace than the Fed's last efforts at quantitative tightening in 2017 to 2019, when the Fed wound down $30 billion for treasuries and $20 billion for mortgage bonds. In early April, Fed Vice Chair Lyle Brainard said the Fed will begin winding down that large portfolio possibly as soon as May. But yeah, hindi nag-start ng May, nag-start ng June 1st. Since pointing to the balance unwinding, the yield on the 10-year Treasury has logged its biggest monthly increase in more than a decade. In April, the yield is now over 3% for the first time since 2018. Right, so what does this all mean sa stock market, sa crypto market, sa US stock market, sa local stock market natin dito sa Philippines? Well, para sa akin, it's okay. Well, it's good to be informed about these policies kasi nakaka-apekto talaga to sa mga prices, no? Sa market and activity sa market, interest sa market. Especially kapag ganito kataas yung inflation and then tinataasan nga ng Fed yung interest rates, di ba? So, ibig sabihin naging risk off yung market. Ang ibig sabihin lang nun is mas yung mga players sa market, like for example, institutions, they prefer to have like cash on hand instead of like holding assets. Kasi hindi nila kayang bayaran, di ba? For example, they loan or nanghiram sila ng pera. Hindi nila kayang bayaran yun kapag hindi na outperform ng asset yung interest rate na kailangan nilang bigyan. Siyempre, hindi naman pwede na nangutang ka na laging break even lang, diba? Dapat you have to also kailangan mong mag-take ng profit, diba? For example, yung interest rate na kailangan mo bayaran is 2.5% and then yung kinikita mo, yung yield mo sa isang taon is 2.5% lang. That doesn't make any sense. Para ka na nagloloko nun, diba? And ito, perspective lang kasi nakita natin na medyo bearish talaga yung sentiment and yung movement din mainly ng markets today. Currently. So, let's check yung S&P 500. So, from the top, sabihin natin ito na yung top, no? To right now, down na siya ng 16.61%. And, kung titingnan natin, ito special case lang naman to nung 2020. Nag-top siya nung Feb and then sharp drop nung March. Well, nung May, doon siya nag-bottom. So, nag-bottom siya 34.57%. So, halos kalahati pa lang yung nangyayari ngayon. And then, if we take a look at nung top ng 2018, nag-bottom siya around 19%. So, almost ganito na yung nangyayari, no? Kasi if we factor in yung talagang pinaka-bottom dito, say week lang naman yun. Yan, nasa 19-ish % din. Yeah, this can probably or potentially be the bottom for this bearish market, but we still don't know. Kasi nga, risk off pa rin yung environment dito sa open markets. Unless magbago yung policy ng Fed, and syempre, kailangan makontrol kasi yung inflation. And again, in my opinion, the worst is yet to come. Kasi yun nga, mag-unload ng assets yung Fed. And that will cause a roller coaster ride na naman para sa atin, no? Sa mga invested sa market. But if you have money, for example, sa S&P 500, or sabihin natin kahit sa PSE or sa crypto, as long as you have or you own fundamentally sound assets, then time in the market is much better than timing the market. Kasi diba, nakita natin itong mga drops na to, but eventually, nagtatrend din naman tayo pataas. Like, sabihin natin, no? Kasi why would you sell kapag ka bumagsak? It doesn't make any sense. You have to reverse that mentality. So, sabihin natin, no, andito ka. Diba? Kung nag-hold ka lang, hindi ka nagbenta dito, diba? Gusto mo malugi ng 19%. Kung nag-hold ka lang, sabihin natin, nung hanggang March 2020, up ka ng 16%. And then, sa top, diba? Up ka ng 63%. Then, sa current market price, up ka ng 37%. Okay? Kahit dito ka man nag-invest. And sabihin natin, dito ka nag-invest kasi hindi mo naman akalain na mag-start yung pandemic. Ayan. You're still up around 19% in just around 2 years. Yeah, hindi siya crazy gains, no? But you still have your capital, you invested in the market, and the stock market trends up in time. Proven na yan. Okay. Kahit na nagkakaroon ng ganitong mga crash, di ba? As long as you don't sell, di ba? Hindi ka malulugi. For example, dito ka, 2007, di ba? Right now, you're up 158%. That is a lot, no? Kasi yung iba, parang minamalit na, 158%, isang araw ko lang sa crypto. But you can also lose that much in just one day sa crypto. Then, same thing sabihin natin, no? Sa crypto, total market cap na lang. So, nagkakaroon ng mga sharp drops dito. So, bottom, 87%. Then, nung 2020, ito naman di ganun kalaki. Baya, 64%. Then, nung nag-high ng May, then nag-bottom around here, 55%. And then dito, gano'n ba tayo kalayo? Around 59%. Diba? Ito mga to, 87, kita nyo nga dito, 87%. Lahat nagsasabi niyan at that time, crypto is dead. Wala na mag-i-invest yan ever. But, from the bottom here, titingnan natin. Dito pa nga lang eh. Diba? Dito pa lang. June 2019, 333% na. 338% na. Then dito, bago mag-crash nung COVID, 250%. Then dito, nung nag-top, you're up to 2,880%. That's crazy. Diba? And right now, kung titingnan natin sa presyo ngayon, up ng 1,300. That's why it's good to just DCA. Especially kapag ka-bearish yung market. Diba? Pagka bearish yung market, just DCA. Like imagine kung nag-DCA ka dito. Diba? You're just DCAing from here up to here. Diba? You're DCAing for around 133 days. And then, niride mo lang yun. Diba? Tapos nakita mo, ay, umakit na. Hindi ka nagtitake profit kasi nga, long term na may horizon mo eh. Pwede kang mag-take profit din dun eh. Pero syempre, mas okay kung yung time horizon mo is around 5 to 10 years, diba? Because it will really pay you well. Kasi diba, imagine nagbenta ka na agad dito. Sayang naman, well, hindi naman sasayang, no? Kasi nagkaroon pa ulit ng drop dito. Kung nag-DCA ka ulit dyan, diba? DCA. Kasi maganda yung DCA na strategy kasi yung emotions mo is kumbaga nasusupress, diba? Wala kang pakialam kahit anong presyo niyan. Pero syempre, kailangan mo ring i-take advantage yung mga bearish trends. Kasi example, ito, diba? Packet ka lang nagdi-DCA. Medyo mahirap yun. Kasi, paano pag andito na sa taas, diba? Or, kunyari, yan, i-drain mo, no? Hindi ka nag-take profit dito sa taas. Bumagsak, wala ka na pang DCA, diba? So, ganun lang. You have to secure your capital lang din. For example, na-double mo na yung capital mo. Like, sell half. Then, ride out yung kalahati, di ba? And then, take profit ulit kapag alam na natin na overheated yung market. Kasi, you can identify yung trends. Like, for example, ito. Yan, di ba? Bull market support band. Pagka nasa taas tayo niyan, bullish yung market. So, and you can also incorporate yung RSI. Pagka sobrang taas din ng RSI, yan, you can take profits. Like, di ba dito? Yan. Kung nakabili ka dito, and then you sold here, na so pinakamataas yung RSI, and you're up for 70%. And yun nga, hindi mo naman ibebenta lahat eh. Like, sabihin mo, half lang, di ba? And then, nag-continue ka pa rin mag-DCA at this price level. Kasi may ano ka na eh, may additional capital ka na eh. And for some people, that doesn't make any sense. But, like for example, ito. Di ba, nag-drop pa rin naman. Nag-drop pa rin dito eh. Di ba? Nag-drop ng konti. Paano mo nakita mo, oy, nagka-opportunity, di ba? Yan, nag-drop siya ng around 26%. Oy, nagka-opportunity yan. Nag-start ka ulit mag-DCA. Then, ni-ride mo yun. And nagbenta ka around dito. Diba? Actually, crypto total market cap to, but we can just stick with Bitcoin if that's the case. So, yun. Main lesson is just, DCA. Eliminate yung emotion sa market. And remember to take profits, especially sa crypto. Kasi, yes, pwede pa rin magbigay ng yield, no? Pagka, example, nag-stake ka ng ETH, ng Bitcoin, nagkakaroon ka ng konting yield. But, hindi siya comparable sa binibigay na yield ng stocks. Like, for example, GMA7 or yung ibang PLDT, Globe, diba? Ganda-ganda yung binibigay nila per year na, what they call this, na yield and additional capital yan. Pwede rin naman sa Bitcoin. I think merong sa Binance na cover ko yun sa previous video. Check out nyo na lang. Na around 5% ba? Oh yeah, 5% yung binibigay na yield ng Bitcoin kapag ka nag-stake ka doon. But yeah, again, speculative market kasi itong Bitcoin. Yes, nagkakaroon na siyang ng institutional adoption, but still you have to consider na it's not really doing anything, di ba? Tama naman sila Warren Buffett eh. Di ba? Wala siyang pinoproduce na kahit ano. But, yung technology kasi behind it, yung blockchain, and yung ginagawa nga, di ba, ng Ethereum, sobrang daming dinedevelop na decentralized apps sa Ethereum. Yung Bitcoin, yung advantage lang niya talaga is siya yung nauna. And with time talaga, umaakit yung presyo niya. Imagine, magkano lang yung Bitcoin nung 10 years ago, di ba? Bitcoin 10 years ago, around $7-ish. That's crazy. If you just bought one at that time, then you have around $28,000 today. That is a lot of money. And yun nga, ang gusto kasi ng tao is ganito, no? Exponential growth yung makuha nila. That's why they're speculating and gambling away their money sa mga low market cap na altcoins. Sasabihin nila, ito yung next Bitcoin, ito yung Bitcoin killer. But that's really hard to do. Kasi may proven, kumbaga parang track record na yung Bitcoin. And it really trends up with time. Even though nag-down siya na 80%, 89%. It recovers and it will give you like an enormous amount of returns. Talk about PSEI. With time din naman, no, nag-increase din siya. Although, we have a rocky decade, I would say. Although, 2010 to like here to 2018, sobrang solid. So, yan, 121%. But if you like invested right around here, diba? You're down 12%. Kung doon ka lang nag-invest. But if you're DCAing, then especially here, sa sharp drop na to, yan, diba? 50%. Sharp drop nung nag-start yung pandemic, then sobrang nag-benefit ka doon. So right now, you're sitting at around 52% na gains. If sa index ka lang nag-invest. Ako, yung karamihan sa capital ko, isang galing sa crash na to. Diba? Kasi, nag-ipon lang talaga ako before and nag-invest ako siguro mga pa 10K, 10K, 20K, 30K. Depende kung magkano yung naipon ko per month. But, malaki talaga yung inipon ko before ako nag-invest. And then, ayun nga, what they call this, dito ako nag-deploy ng capital noon nagkaroon ng sharp drop. Actually, na-delay pa nga eh. Hindi talaga ako nakapag-invest sa mismong bottom dito sa area na to. Kasi medyo matagal mag-fund yung BPI. And doon una parang yung isang deploy ko ng capital parang 100K ganun. Tapos kasi sabi ko, sige, ito muna ilalagay ko para kahit pa paano may funds pa rin ako. Nung time naman na yun, nakatira pa rin ako sa parents ko sa condo sa Makati. So, wala ako masyadong ginagastos. Then, nung nakabili ako, parang nag-drop ulit. Nag-drop ulit yung mga stocks na binibili ko. Mga DMCI, mga GMA7. Actually, yung GMA7 hindi masyado nag-drop. So, ito. Ayan, dito. So, nakabili ako siguro dito. Around 3 pesos talaga yung, yung average price ko nung sa DMC. Then, nagkaroon siya ng, syempre, nag-bounce siya. Then, umabot almost 5. Yeah, for 77. And then, ito, nag-drop ulit dito nung July 2020. Diyan ako nag-all-in. Like, lahat nung inipon ko since 2017, binili ko. Bumili akong DMCI, bumili akong EEI. Basta lahat ng magaganda yung binibigay na dividends. Kasi na-addict talaga ako sa mga dividend-paying stocks. Although yung EEI is not doing good right now, I'm not sure why actually. But yeah, siguro earnings and all that. Hindi na kasi ako talaga sobrang totok dito sa PSE. Kasi GME7 na lang yung pinakamalaki kong nasa portfolio. But yeah, yan, diba? Nagkaroon ng sharp drop. Bumibili ako dito, 4-ish. And di DCA ako dyan. Actually, PCA kasi peso cost averaging. And then, eventually, nagbenta ako noong 2021. So, around ganitong level. And kasi nga, yun, napunta na rin ako sa crypto. And inisip ko, 20 plus pa lang naman ako, I can take on the high risk investments instead of like, ganito, buying stocks na it's relatively safe. Lalo na kapag, blue chip yung binili mo. But yeah, diba? Kita nyo naman dito. Hindi rin siya masyado safe. Because from the all-time high, down na siya ng around 57%. Diba? Kahit na dividend-paying stock yan. But yeah, may iba pa rin naman na stocks na, ibang mas safe kaysa dito sa EEI. And you also have to consider kasi yung earnings eh. Katulad dito, diba? PLDT. From the lows, grabe na. Yan, nag-set pa rin siya ng all-time high. Then, Globe. Yan, yung Globe. Actually, hindi ako nakapag-invest masyado sa Globe. Globe Telecom. But, grabe rin yung growth niya, since 2020. So, here, from 1.6, nag-grow siya around 3.6. Sobrang bearish na pala ng Globe. God damn. 2.2 na lang siya. Well, 2.2 pa rin, no? So, kung nakabili ka ng around 1.6, up ka pa rin ngayon. Diba? But yeah, pagka ganito talagang overheated yung market and ganyan yung RSI, you still have to take profits talaga. Although, I'm not saying na hindi maganda i-hold yung Globe long term, but, secure capital. Although, yes, you can just hold it like forever and you will get paid dividends. And yeah, kung nagdi-DCA ka lang naman, you don't really have to worry about timing the market. Again, time in the market is much better. Much better than, timing the market. So, yun lang guys. Napahaba na tong episode na to. Medyo napasarap yung daldal natin. So, give this video a thumbs up if natripan nyo tong video na to. And subscribe na rin kayo sa channel ko if you want more videos like this in the future. Ring the notification bell para wala kayong ma-miss out sa mga uploads ko. Almost everyday na ako nag-upload dito sa YouTube. And you can follow me sa social media platforms ko. I'm on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at M1PSPH. And if you want to be a supporter of the channel, meron nga pala tayong YouTube membership. Hindi ko pa na-update masyado yung perks, but yeah, if you wanna support the channel in like another way, then you can check that out. Para siyang subscription like every single month. Merong mga tiers, and yeah, makakasali din kayo sa Discord channel if ever you want to subscribe dun sa YouTube membership natin. And then, ayun. Thanks again for watching and listening, everyone. Stay safe. I'll see you all in the next episode. Always remember, be Peso smart.